Hello, folks. Welcome to my show, Ask Gypsy Spirit. And I got somebody that emailed me a question, and we'll get on with it. This is a very interesting question. And I used to work for these psychic companies where people could call and pay by the minute. Um, and almost every day, I got a woman calling me about this sort of situation. So let's not waste any time. Let me go ahead and read it to you. I hope everybody's doing well. This letter that this woman, yeah, it's a letter because it's kind of long. So it says, Dear Gypsy Spirit, I am 72 years old and I live alone. 8 months ago, I met a man online and I've been talking to him ever since. He is from the United States and has his own home in Tennessee. He works as a contractor in Egypt and has been there for 2 years. We talk every day and he wants to come visit me where I live and marry me. He says we can live in my house or his. It is up to me. Well, that sounds exciting, right? The problem is that he is having a hard time getting the paperwork together to come back home. This is a very expensive process and takes a very long time to acquire. I am helping him the best I can. So far, I have sent him a total amount of $3,000. Ooh, that's a lot of money. I am not sure how much longer I can financially help him. I don't want my money to run out, and now he is telling me that there is no work for him available where he is located and stuck at. So now I may have to help him with his living expenses too. I just want to know if you see the situation coming to an end very soon. Is he going to get the clearance he needs to come back to the States and we can get on with our lives? Okay. This is a fully loaded question. So let me tell you something. First of all, if you've never met this man, you're just talking to him, you don't know. This is a scam, and I used to get this all the time. Women your age would call in all the time, even younger, and they would tell me the same story. It was always the same story, that they were stuck in Egypt or Turkey or some foreign country and couldn't get back because they had to do paperwork to get back. That's bullshit, first of all. So and these women would send so much money. I talked to a lady one time. She had two guys. One guy she had been talking to for 5 years, and he said that he was stuck in Egypt, and she had been giving him money to try to get this paperwork done. And she also was talking to a doctor. I think she lived in Michigan. She was talking to this doctor in Florida, and this was like on a Thursday or Friday, and he was supposed to come up to see her in Michigan, and she was calling me to ask me if he was going to come see her. And I said, well, has he ever said he was going to come see you before? And she said yes. And did he? She said no. Something always came up, and I said, well, something's going to come up this time too. He's not going to come see you. And she explained to me that she had been sending both of these men money. Let me tell you something, ladies, and even men too. I've only heard about this happening to women, but I'm sure it happens to men too. This is a scam. This is a huge scam, and these guys, they prey on women who are older, vulnerable, and lonely, and they will get you. They'll tell you all kinds of stories and get you to feel sorry for them, or what they'll tell you they're going to marry you. Let me tell you a story that happened a long time ago. This was in I guess this is probably around these scams were starting to get known, but I have a friend, or had a friend, we're not friends anymore, her name was Danette. I'll go ahead and say your name. Her name was Danette, and she was a beautiful girl. She was in her early 40s, about 42, 43 maybe. Very ambitious. Just, there was a kindness about her, but she could also be a bitch. That's why we're not friends anymore. And she started, I was married at the time, and we were going somewhere, and she's talking to me about this guy that she had just met. And she said she met him online, and on one of those dating sites. And she showed me a picture of him, and I said, "Damn, he's hot." And he was. The picture that she was showing me was a really hot guy. And I can't remember what his name was, but he told her. Now we live in Charleston, South Carolina. He told her that he had a house in Somerville, which is probably about 20 minutes from Charleston, and he gave her an address and everything. I mean, he had it. He had his all his ducks in a row, and they would talk on the telephone. And he, over time, she enjoyed doing photography, and he told her that they were going to buy a house, and he was going to set her up a studio for her photography, and and how much he loved her. They were going to get married, and like every day or every other day when she and I would talk, she would tell me about him, and when she started talking to me about marriage, I said, "Whoa, wait a minute. You just been talking to this guy on the telephone for a couple months, and you're talking about marriage already? You haven't even met this guy." And she just went on about how, she was so in love with him and blah, blah, blah. And I realized at that time that my friend, she was just desperate. She was desperate for a relationship with somebody. And then I told her that. And she even told me that her mother told her the same thing. Isn't that something? Imagine that. So, anyway, I tried to tell her that this was a scam. And oh, she got so mad with me. She was furious. And she even, while we were out one day, she called him and he returned her phone call, and she told him everything that I'd said to her, and he convinced her that I was wrong. Okay? So she went on, and it turns out that he told her that he lost his phone, or he broke his phone or something. Well, if he broke his phone or he lost his phone, how the fuck is he calling you, right? So, but anyway, he just went on saying that he needed a new phone, and she said, "Well, do you want me to get you a phone?" And she said he hummed and hawed about it, and at first he said no, and then he said, "Well, yeah." So let me tell you what Danette did. She went out and she bought a $600 telephone. Yeah, this was back in 2006. No, 2009, something like that. 2010. She goes out and she buys him a telephone, $600, and sends it to him to where he's at in Turkey. He told her that he was doing construction work in Turkey, that he was a builder, and that they were in Turkey. So he was, every time he told her he was going to come to North Carolina, because he would catch a flight in North Carolina, and then from North Carolina come to Charleston. So, which, makes sense. I mean, that happens. But he told her that he was going to come home this one particular week, and then he told her he couldn't come because there was a big holiday going on in Turkey. I can't remember the holiday, the name of it, but it might have been Ramadan or something like that. I don't remember, but that he was tied up in all these meetings with lawyers for his contracts, and so he was going to have to stay a little while longer so that he could get through these meetings with all these lawyers, like he's some big important man. And so she told me the name of the holiday, and again, I can't remember, but I got online and I started typing, looking up this holiday in Turkey, because he said he was in Turkey. She was going to get on a plane and fly to Turkey to meet him. The only reason why she didn't is because I threatened her. I told her her parents were elderly people. I would say they were in their 70s, and she was telling me that she was going to go to Turkey. She was going to go meet him. I said, if you buy a ticket to Turkey, I will be making a visit to your parents. Your parents will know everything about, because at this point she had not told her parents or anything what was going on. I said, do not get a plane ticket to Turkey. So anyway, I go online and I'm looking up this holiday and I'm looking up Turkey. Well, guess what? For this holiday, and some of you may know what it is, I just can't remember the name of it. But this particular holiday, it goes on for a week. Everything in Turkey shuts down. Nobody works. Nobody. So there are no lawyer meetings. There's nobody, holding meetings with all these lawyers and everything during this week. So I called her up. I said, Danette, you need to do some research on this particular holiday in Turkey. And I explained to her what was going on. Over time, she began to understand. She began to finally see the light. And she had bought this telephone for $600. And when she mailed it off, right after she mailed it off, is when she finally realized that this was a scam. She was being scammed. And so I just thought of another crazy story with her involving a man, kind of the same thing. But anyway, she realized it was a scam, and she tried to get her money. She tried to get the phone sent back to her. So she was trying to do a track with the post office to get the phone sent back to her. The problem was the phone, that package that she had sent with that $600 phone had already left the country. Once the package leaves the country, there's nothing they can do about it. So she lost $600. But I hear these stories all the time. And I can just tell you that, first of all, no, he's not coming to see you. He does not have a house in Tennessee. He's never been to the United States. This is a scam. It's an ongoing scam. Ladies, please beware. Beware of what is going on. Do not send anybody any fucking money. If you're going to send somebody money, send it to me, okay? I'll give you my address. But no, don't be sending anybody any money that you've never met or anything. You don't know this guy. This guy is a total scam. And she, this is a story they all use because they know it works. And they've picked, like I said, they've picked these women and men who are older, maybe they have some retirement money or whatever. See, they don't come to me. They don't come to Gypsy Spirit. One, because I know the scam. But two, they don't come to me because they know I don't have no money. As the minute somebody asks me for money, I'm like, you got the wrong girl. That is not me. I am not loaded. I don't have a rich uncle that left me a lot of money or anything. So, please stay away from this guy. Just stop talking to him. Block him on all levels. Because this is just, it's a scam. I'll tell you another scam. For those of you that are on Facebook, in which I am, I had a lady call me one time when I was working for one of these telephone, psychic companies where people call in. By the way, don't call those companies either. That's a scam too. They want to keep you on the phone, and the longer they can keep you on the phone, the more money they make. They're making like $6 a minute. They're only paying their psychics like 40 or 50 cents a minute, which is a total ripoff or the psychic as well. But I had a lot of people that would call me, and my heart just, there's a lot of lonely people. And I will tell you that, to the lady that wrote this in, you're 72 years old and you're talking to this man that you've never met. That tells me that you're lonely, and that you're looking for some companionship. My suggestion to you is to get yourself involved with maybe some support groups, or just some groups. Go to events and things like that if you can, and meet local people. Get your mind busy. There's a woman that's on Facebook. I won't say her name, but I'm friends with her on Facebook, and she takes walks, and she's probably like in her late 60s, maybe early 70s, and she takes walks all over Charleston, and she takes pictures of her walks and everything, and she gets herself out there. So that's what I would suggest to you to do as well. Get yourself out in your home area. Meet people that are local, and just have a good time. And don't worry about love and all that. It'll come, but it's not going to come from this person. So getting back to a lady that had called me, I on Facebook I follow a lot of musicians. I follow Ringo Starr and Robert Plant and uh, Julian Lennon, and a lot of musicians I follow. And there's been a couple of times that I've like made a comment on something that they posted, or I guess they posted, um, and then I would get a, a a response to my post, somebody acting that they're them. Like for instance, Ringo Starr one time, and I think Alice Cooper also. That I do follow Alice Cooper, but I got a response, and it was somebody acting as if they were Ringo Starr, and they said, "Please PM me. I'm happy to have you as my fan. I'm so excited that you're following me, and I would love to talk to you some more. Please PM me." Okay. Um, and so I knew immediately it was a scam. I didn't respond to this person, of course, and I stopped following them. I've even seen where I believe it was Alice Cooper who put out a post saying, if you got anything stating that it was from him, for you to PM him privately, not to do it. It's a scam. But anyway, so this woman, she called me up, and she was talking about this gentleman, and that she's known him for a long time, that he's in a very famous rock band from the United States. And she went on telling me that she'd known him ever since she was a little girl. She's met him many times, and the last time she saw him was like about 10 years ago, and she happened to run into him. Well, he was coming to an airport. He was traveling, and he was going to be landing in her hometown, and was going to meet her at the airport. And she said she did. She met him at the airport, and they talked for a little bit. And so, she's like, of course, following him on Facebook and everything, and on his website. And I said to her, you don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but I just got to know, who is this band? Because she went on telling me how famous they are. And it was the band Chicago. And, and Peter Cetera was the gentleman that she was talking about. Well, while she's talking to me, I'm looking up I know who Chicago is. I listen to them all the time. And I know who Peter Cetera is. So I'm looking it up. This man has got a net worth of like $40 million, And so she said that she had been talking to him. He had asked her to PM him privately on the Facebook page, and she thought it was him, since they knew each other and everything. And she She did, and they've been talking and so forth. And then he started telling her how he needed a telephone. That he needed like $1,000 for this phone that he needed to get, and he didn't have any money. I'm like, wait a minute. This man has a net worth of $40 million, and he doesn't have any money to buy himself $1,000 phone. I mean, come on. How much common sense do you need to have to figure this one out? Okay. It I mean, I got through college and everything, but I was not a 4.0 student. Okay. um, it doesn't take a psychic or mad rocket scientist or anything like that to figure this one out. And I told her, I said, this is a scam. This is not, you're not talking to who you think you're talking to. And she said, well, I was kind of wondering about that. Kind of wondering, the minute he asked you for money, this multi-millionaire asked you for money, that should have that was your sign. If you didn't have any other signs, honey, that was your sign. So I just use some common sense, and be very, very careful. Now, I'm not saying that online dating, you shouldn't do it. I have a sister. She is, I don't know, I guess about 40. I'm 15 years older than she is, so she's about 45. um about 16 years ago, she met her husband online. He was a lawyer, and they're married. They have two beautiful children, have a great life together, totally in love. So, I mean, and I know there's a lot of people that meet online, and they get married, live, the happily ever after dream. There's nothing wrong with that. Online dating didn't work for me. I'm not good at picking boyfriends, and at least back then I wasn't, and I always seemed to have bad luck with that online dating stuff. And another thing, let me tell you about online dating as well, because I when I was online doing the online dating sites, I didn't do it for very long, less than a year, and then I would do off and on. But the times that I did it, I did have somebody scam me. If they tell you that they're a widow, um, there was a man that said his name was Tom Anderson, and that he was a widow, and he had a nice picture of himself, and I thought, oh, he looks really nice and everything. But every time I asked him about us meeting, he would blow it off. So I didn't want to have anything to do with him. If you're talking to them online, and after a week, 2 weeks at the most, and you're talking to them and they don't agree to meet with you, leave them alone. Leave them alone. I'll tell you a story. This involves me, okay? And this is a Facebook thing. So I met this guy on Facebook. I don't know how I met him, but somehow we ended up being friends. His name was Vernon. Vernon was his name. I don't remember his last name, but his name was Vernon. Vernon Keller, I think. Anyway, yeah, I'm telling names on this one. This is my own personal story. So I used to live in this apartment, and I had a neighbor that lived like three or four doors down from me. His name was Raymond. Raymond and I are still very good friends today. Love Raymond to death. And when I first moved into this apartment complex, I started talking to this guy Vernon, and I thought he was very handsome and everything, and he lived up in Anderson, South Carolina, which is about 3 hours from where I live. And we're talking and talking, and one day Raymond came, and I had never talked to him on the telephone. We were always just texting each other. Raymond came over to my apartment, and I had this wicker chair, and it was kind of up against a wall, but around the chair were all these crystals and stones, and that was the chair that I used when I was meditating. And one time uh, Raymond came over to my apartment, and I was telling him all about Vernon and showing him a picture, and he said, "Oh, he'll be down this weekend to see you." I said, "Oh, I hope so." So time goes by. 3 weeks later, I still had not met Vernon. We're still talking, and Raymond comes over and he sits in my chair. You know, all the crystals. He liked to sit in that chair. That was a special chair to him. So he was sitting in the chair, and I'm, somehow talking about this guy, Vernon, and it was like right in the beginning of my spiritual journey, and I told him, we were talking about him, and it came up that I had not met him yet. Raymond said to me, "Well, you talked to him on the phone, right?" I said, "No, we just text." He said, "Wait a minute. You've not talked to him on the phone, and you've not met him, and you've been talking to him for, what, a month now?" And I said, "Yeah." "Oh, yeah." He said, "Okay, let me tell you something. He's either married, got a girlfriend, or both." I said, "Oh, no, 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 no. Not anybody else. You would tell me that, I would believe you, but not this guy, because he's all spiritual like I am, and he's on his journey, and oh no, he would never lie to me like that." He said, "He's either married, got a girlfriend, or both." He wouldn't argue with me or anything. He just kept saying that. And I got mad with him because I thought he was full of shit. And so about a week later, I get this invitation from this woman. Her name was Scarlett. I get an invitation to be a friend with a friend request from Scarlett. And turns out that she's friends with Vernon. And she sends me a text, a private message through Facebook after I accepted her friendship. She said, "Oh, thank you so much for accepting my friendship. I've heard so much about you. Vernon talks about you, and I'm just so happy to meet you, on Facebook and everything." And she's telling me that he talks about me, so I'm getting all high school giddish, and I said, "Oh, he's talking about me. Really? What is he saying?" And she said, "Well, not." He says that he learns a lot from you, that you have a radio show, and because at the time I did, and that he just, you've taught him some things spiritually. And then she throws in there, "We're dating, right?" No. So I said, "No. As a matter of fact, I don't know that he's dating you." And I started telling her about how he and I had been talking. And so she and I, we talked on the telephone. And she said, "Well, first of all, they were dating, but he also has a wife," claiming that they sleep on opposite ends of the house, that they're not together romantically, and that they're staying together for financial reasons. That's a bunch of bullshit if I ever heard of it. But she said, "Well, he's coming over here tonight at midnight when he gets off work. Why don't you call me about 12:30, and I'll put him on speakerphone." And that's exactly what we did. But before I could call her, well, I did. I did call her at 12:30, and he was there, and he didn't know who I was at first. And she said the moment he realized who I was, he would not look at her at all. And guess what? They broke up that night. That night they broke up, and she and I have been friends ever since. That was, I don't know, what, 2013, I think. Yeah, 2013. And she and I have been friends ever since. But anyway, and she's wrote in a letter, or wrote in something, and I'll be addressing that tomorrow. But I never talked to him again, never had anything to do with him. But what the funny story is that as soon as I got off the phone with him, I was a nervous wreck. I had been, like I said, on a spiritual journey, I had not had a drink in almost a year. not smoked any weed or any, just was really trying to stay straight on my spiritual journey. So I go, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I went banging on my neighbor Raymond, his door, banging on the door, and he opens, he was awake, he was up and everything, and I said, I need a drink. And he's like, what? I said, yes, please, I need a drink. Give me a beer. I need a beer. And he's like, well, come on in, sit down. I said, I can't sit down. I can't sit down. He said, well, he got me a beer, and he put it in my hand, and he's like, sit down. I said, no, I can't sit down. And he said, well, what's going on? And I said, remember Anderson guy? He was like, well, yeah. I said, guess what? He's married, and he's got a girlfriend. And of course, my friend, he just laughed. He said, well, imagine that. So he was right all along. But so what I'm trying to tell you is, if you're on any dating site, or you meet somebody on Facebook or whatever, and you talking to them, and they don't want to meet you within a week or so, then they're a waste of your time. They're either married or they've got something going on. And this goes on the dating sites. It goes on Facebook. It goes on all social media. Had a client come to me. She and her husband were having some problems, and turns out that somebody that they both knew was hitting on her, and she was taken in with it, and she was ready to divorce her husband for this loser guy. And so I talked to them both, and I hope that they were able to work things out. But the Facebook thing and all this social media, first of all, if you're married, you don't need to be talking to somebody else on a more than friendly basis. And two, don't be caught up with somebody that you've never met. I actually did that. I got caught up with somebody who was from Asheville, and I was just getting ready for separation, and I wanted to move to Asheville, North Carolina, and so I decided that I was going to start befriending people on Facebook that were from Asheville, so that I could start building a network up there. That was my intention. And this guy came on. He was from Asheville, and I invited him to be a friend, and we became friends. And oh my God, he would put out the most beautiful poetry, and took pictures of all this food. It was food that he was getting from the internet, looking at pictures. He wasn't cooking all that stuff. And he just seemed so romantic. And so I got involved with him. One of the biggest mistakes ever. The only way that I can describe this person, he was from the Philippines, and I think that he was into some illegal stuff. But anyway, he was a little tiny guy, and I don't know, I was just fascinated with his poetry and all the stuff, that he was doing. He was a painter and all that. And I got involved with him. And I would go to Asheville to visit with him. He was always very secretive. But the best way to describe this person, I honestly believe that he could have been a clone of Charles Manson. This guy was as batshit crazy as Charles Manson. And I got involved with him for about 2 years. And it was horrible. And that was way before, that was like in 2011, late 2010, early 2011, because that's about the time that I separated. And lost a lot of friends. People thought I had completely gone off the deep end, and I had. So just, I'm trying to tell you, just really be careful and be sure of yourself and be confident in yourself. Um, know who you are, what you are, stand in your own power, stand in your own truth, set boundaries, which I didn't have any of those things. I was a train wreck. I was going through a divorce. So I've learned a lot since then, but just be careful with these internet sites, these social media sites where you're meeting people, and don't send anybody any money. Even this happened to me just recently, like about a month ago. I was looking for a new place to live. Fortunately, we don't have to move. We worked it all out. But my landlord wanted to go up on our rent like $300, and we finally agreed to pay it because we couldn't find another place to live. But right here in the complex that I live in, there was a condo up for rent, and it was perfect. The rent was perfect for us. And I texted the person. It was on Craigslist, and this person had me going, and we were texting back and forth, and they were saying, well, have you seen it? You can see it now if you want to. And I was just, like within walking distance to it. So I'm like, yeah, I can go see it right now. And it went on, and finally this person said, we'll go see it, and it's first come, first serve, whoever sends me the deposit first. And I said, well, are you you're there, right? I have to meet you. She said, oh, you'll meet me after you sign the lease. That was my red flag. And I would have never sent money anyway. If they would have asked me to send them money or whatever, I would have never done that. I have to meet the person in person to know that it's all good. So, of course, I said some foul things to this person, but it's happening everywhere. So you really, really need to be careful. Use common sense. I always told my oldest son, common sense will take you very far in this world, and it will. The problem is that a lot of us don't have it these days. So just try to use common sense. Don't rush into anything. Don't go rushing into your bank account, sending somebody money. Sleep on it. Ask some people about it. Talk to your friends and family about these things before you go sending money. I don't know how much this lady is that wrote this in. She's 72 years old. I'm guessing that she's got some retirement and maybe some pension or whatever. Maybe she's a widow and has been left some money. Yeah, you don't know. The guy that was in Asheville, the one that was like like a clone of Charles Manson. When I first met him, and I did meet him. We did stuff together. But when I first met him, he was asking me about property. Did I have property? How much property did I have? And I thought that was awfully, I thought, why is he asking me that? Well, why does he need to know those things? And of course, I didn't have no property. I had a house, and that was it. My family and I lived in, but I didn't have like all kinds of property or whatever. So yeah, he was fishing for something, but just be careful. So anyway, I know I've rambled on a lot about this because I've had some short stories to share with you and about this subject, and hopefully it'll make you think. If you got a friend who's going through this sort of thing, please warn them. Don't let them, advise them not to send money or whatever. Please talk to them, and we have to look out for one another. So thank you for listening, and I will be back tomorrow, or maybe the day after. I thought I was going to do this every day. It's turning out that it's every other day. So thank you for listening, and I will see you again soon, and please make good choices. Bye-bye.